Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Spoilercast from the past. That is right, we have finally got to Dino Crisis. It was getting to mythical levels, but we've finally done it, and you are about to bear witness to history. Because we are laying this out over the next hour and a bit, however long we go. Now, my name's Davey, and joining me, as always, is Phil.
That's disgusting.
And Spencer.
It's finally over.
It is finally over. We've finally put it to bed, and I'm looking forward to unpacking this and going through the game in quite a bit of depth. But first, before we get into any of that, guys, I want to know, what was your expectations going into this game? Because when we put the vote out originally, I think I put up The Walking Dead to be a contender. Spence, you remember what you put up?
Yeah, I put up Bioshock 1.
And then Phil, of course, put up Dino Crisis, which did end up running away with the poll. So let's come across to yourself then first, Spence. Obviously, I'm a massive fan of Resident Evil, and you'll be surprised, listener, the buzzer isn't going to go off here. We're not going to punish anyone for saying Resident Evil because, well, to be fair, we couldn't really cover this game effectively. So we're free to use it as we see fit when it comes to this. Now, for me, I was obviously used to these older style survival horror games. Spence, this was all pretty much new to you. I don't think you've played anything apart from Resident Evil Remake, which is even remotely similar to this. So what was your expectation going in?
Yeah, you're right. Our remake is kind of the only Resident Evil game. Oh, it feels good to say it. The only Resident Evil game that I've played that like has tank controls and is that kind of generation. So this was kind of my first time going back to those days. My expectations, man, I don't know what it was, but the thought of a Resident Evil-esque game, but with dinosaurs, it didn't seem appealing to me. I wasn't really looking forward to this game. I know it has a huge legacy, and I wanted to kind of understand why it did. But I didn't understand why it did. Going into this game, I just didn't know anything about this game. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I wasn't as keen as I thought I might be going into it.
What about yourself, Phil? Because obviously you won the poll, so I'd imagine you'd be quite excited to be able to go and revisit this game.
Yes. Can I hear that again, Davey? Did I win the poll?
You did win the poll, so it's 1-1 so far. So I won Metal Gear Solid, and you've won Dino Crisis, so well done on winning the poll.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody that did vote across our Twitter followers. And yes, it was Dino Crisis that won my choice, and I was very, very pleased because I have massively fond memories of this game from growing up playing this with my brother and Thomas Willard that we sort of mentioned quite a lot on the show. Growing up, we used to play this when we had sleepovers back in the day. I can't really remember if we ever completed the game. My memory's a little bit hazy from back then, but I do remember playing this game and Dino Crisis 2, and I think that's where we stopped with the series. But yes, I had very high expectations because I have such fond memories of the game.
Yeah, and for myself, as I kind of alluded to, I was really excited to get into this game. I've just, for my YouTube, played through every single Resident Evil, so I've run the gambit, basically, from the newest entry right back to the oldest entry. And so I was looking forward to going into a game which originally launched back in 1999, and see it through and see if all the hype that was built up around what is essentially described as Resident Evil with dinosaurs, if that pays off. So before we get into our full kind of thoughts, I want to hear what your kind of top level rating on the game is. So kind of top level thoughts, don't go too deep on it. We're going to unpack it in a little bit. Phil, I want to come across to you first. Set the scene.
Okay, mate. Well, on the face of it, as you just said, Dino Crisis is just Resident Evil with dinosaurs. But if you dig a little deeper, and we will do in the next hour or so, the game designers made some fundamental changes that makes this game its own. I'm not saying all these changes were good, to be honest, and to be fair, most of them aren't, but this very much, in my mind, sits aside from the Resident Evil series. In the early days of 1999, Dino Crisis gave us full 3D environments, cinematic cutscenes, it gave us gore, incredible music score throughout the whole game. And the story, it gave us choice, which is something that, for all our listeners, we always bang on about in games. It gave us choice. It was a PlayStation 1 game that let us decide where we took the game. And for me, from time-traveling dinosaurs to a mad scientist with a god complex, this game can be massively frustrating at times, but it does its best to be different than all the other survival horrors.
Well said. What about yourself, Spence? How did you feel about it? And remember, keep it top level.
I don't know if you boys know me very well, but I'm probably the least top level member of this podcast. So my initial top level thoughts of this game, it separates itself from Resident Evil very well. My main critique in that is that kind of the way you engage in combat is different, and the way you approach it is different. You can't kind of do the same thing you do in Resident Evil, whereas you approach a zombie, you just walk backwards a little bit, wait for it to lunge, you walk around. You kind of have to treat it like you're running away from a crocodile, where you zigzag. That's kind of how you have to do it in this game, or that was my experience anyway. And I like those changes. I like they did that. They had to, you had to learn a new way to kind of deal with encounters. The puzzles were kind of different. I actually liked the puzzles a lot in this game. I don't even know what I can say about the game. I need to kind of have more conversation to learn myself what my thoughts of this game are, if you know what I mean.
Well, I think it's important to note here that me and Phil, we completed this game about 2 weeks ago, Phil. Remember then?
Yeah, I think it was about that. I've been tweeting it out pretty much constantly throughout my whole playthrough, and I was tweeting out links. I did stream it live to Twitch, and I had a couple of our viewers. Thank you very much for joining that followed me on the journey, because I absolutely love this game, and playing it through. I know I'm preempting what you'll probably be asking me next, but yeah, I still love this game. There's lots of problems with this game, but there's lots to love about it.
Fair enough. Well, my thoughts going into this, I was really excited. I was super, super excited, actually, to be able to see what Shinji Mikami, who directed the game, did when it comes to kind of separating it from its previous entries in the survival horror genre, especially when it comes to Resident Evil. Now, this game, for context, released in 1999, which is a year after Resident Evil 2 and the same year of Resident Evil 3. So I had good grounding in terms of what I could expect going into this, in terms of graphics, in terms of setting, in terms of story, from what's already come before and what was to come afterwards. And unfortunately, this game for me, keeping it top level, it does a lot of things right, but I think the changes that they made to the formula don't actually suit the game. And I've got some real fundamental flaws with this game compared to what was done previously and what came afterwards.
Let's address the elephant in the room, okay? So survival horror that we're used to with Resident Evil, you kill a zombie and it gets back up and chases you. You've always got that sense of dread. Dinosaurs tend not to get back up after you kill them. And for me, that's the fundamental problem with this game. Do you guys agree?
It depends on the dinosaurs you're encountering, I find, because the basic dinosaurs, the first ones you encounter in this game, they do go down and get back up. They kind of stay down for a while, and when you approach them, they do get back up. You can recognize when they're truly dead by that pool of blood. But those are the only enemies that do it. Kind of similar to in Resident Evil, it's only the basic zombies to do it. Like the hunters won't go down, or the dogs won't go down. They're always just down. They're always dead when they go down. They kind of did the same thing, but with dinosaurs in this. Obviously, it's Dino fucking Crisis. But I do agree with you, in a sense. There's just the fear element isn't there. It doesn't strike you quite as hard as zombies do. Even when they try to emulate it with its own tweaks, it doesn't kind of strike your core as much as Resident Evil does.
Well, I think it's very different. It's very different, and that's kind of by design. So, typical traditional Resident Evil is classed as survival horror. This isn't. It's classed as panic horror because it's all about the fact that dinosaurs are a lot quicker than zombies are. There's less of them, but they're more physically demanding. They take a lot more ammo to take down. It's a lot more of a commitment to be able to engage in combat with them when you've got something that can chase you, that can come through doors after you. You're always in a position in this game where you're never quite safe. Whereas in something like Resident Evil, you know that if you clear an area out, that area, you're totally cool to explore until your heart's content. Whereas in this, if you wanted to do that, the ammo cost to be able to get that done is high. And that's where the game gives you choices then when it comes to your ammo and what you choose to do. Yeah, so it's a very different design philosophy when it comes to this compared to the threats that you face in, say, traditional Resident Evil.
And for me, Davey, they absolutely nail it in this game. I think this is the thing that makes such a distinction for Dino Crisis, because all the way through the game, I never felt overpowered. You know, normally when you play Resident Evil, you start off and everything is shit scary. Because as soon as you see a zombie, you've got 4 bullets, and you have to make a choice. Do you kill them? Do you not? Do you swerve them? Do you try and find a different path? Every part of Dino Crisis is like that, because ammo is so limited. And I found that the pacing within this game was perfect. One of the best. I would say it rivals one of the best of any of the Resident Evil series.
I'd agree with you on that. I think that ammo's a bit of a weird one, because you've got a lot of choices in this. So this game brings in the mixing element, which then really can change what you do with your resources that you have. Now, weirdly enough, you said about your ammo being tight. I found that ammo was fine for me. I had more ammo than I ever knew what to do with. The issue I had was heals. That was my problem. And it was because of the mixing. So what I would do is I would use my mixing to be able to take my health kits and then reduce the number of health kits I had but make them more meaningful. So instead of having multiple medium-sized healing kits, which are used for bringing you up to full health, I'd then trade that to have, like, instead of 4 of those, I'd have 2 large ones that would stop my bleeding at the same time or would auto-revive me. And so I'd mix them and then mix them again. So I'd reduce my number that I'd had down to the bare minimum. But my weapons I would have so many darts, the trank darts, that I would never really have to worry about it. I'd walk into an area, trank a dinosaur, and just run. And by the time they woke up, I was way past that area. So they were not a threat to me. I think in the entire game, I killed 4 dinosaurs. I think that was literally... And the one of them, I killed when I didn't need to, because I put a grate up in front of me, a laser grate, pulled out the pistol, and just saw how many ammo rounds it takes to kill them. Because that would then influence how I played the game. I did that quite early on. And I think it took like 2 whole clips. And I was like, this is just unrealistic. I cannot use this amount of ammo going forward as a crutch. I need to just shoot them and run. You know, kind of the same way that, you know, when people are like going out and they're putting tags on sharks and that in the environment, and they go around and they just like stab them with it, like quick, put a tag on, and then they just bail out of there, right? They're gone by the time that thing wakes up. That was my kind of motto going forward. I was like, I'm tagging everything, but I'm never killing them. And it was on the rare occasion that I stood my ground. I was like, do you know what? Fuck this thing. I'm putting this in the bin. And that was my kind of experience. So quite different from yours.
Isn't that mad though? A game from 1999. We've both played it. And we've had wildly different experiences because of that choice. I was limited on ammo. You were limited on health. Spencer, were you somewhere in the middle?
I was actually perfectly in the middle. I had my heals sorted. I used the mix-in, same as Davey said. And I had a very healthy amount of ammunition as well. I had the Medpack L++s. I had loads of them. I made sure I had 2 resuscitations at all times so I could come back. And I made sure I had 4 Medpack L++s. And that was it. I was set then. And then I also had, you know, you have 2 screens in this game. Your inventory, which we'll talk more about later on, kind of has 2 screens. So you have the first screen and second screen. My first screen was entirely ammunition, pistol rounds, shotgun rounds, grenade gun rounds, and tranks. And then my second screen was resuscitations, hemostat for if I was bleeding but I was like healthy, and then 2 Medpack L+s. I was very organized in my playthrough of this game.
I think now is probably a great time to start digging a little bit deeper. We kind of touched on a couple of things here, but I kind of want to go off and ask you guys what you liked and what you didn't. What are your loves and your bugbears about this game? Let's just get them out straight off, and then we can then see where this conversation goes. Phil, let's come across to yourself first.
Oh, baby. So I'm going to start off with the most frustrating part of this game. And I can hear you guys, the viewers, the listeners, you're all shouting about the fingerprint scanner. But no. And I don't swear very often on this podcast, but it's those fucking maps. Oh my god, are they frustrating. They make no sense. They give you zero help. If anything, looking at the maps makes the game harder.
I completely agree with you 100%. My notes, actually, this is what I've put on here. The map is an act against God. Impossible to orient yourself. The only way I ever knew where I was is because I'd go through a door and then see where I am on the map. And I'd be like, oh, okay, I need to go through the other door. And the only time I ever got used to it is in very specific places in the game. So there's a save room, which is not far from where you use the fingerprint scanner, where you obtain it the first time. I knew my way to that, no problem at all. I knew my way through the vents, get all around it, no problem at all. Apart from that, didn't have a clue. And I'm very much one of those people that, especially when you're looking at Resident Evil, that every 2 steps I'm going into the map. Every 2 steps, planning my routes, thinking, right, okay, I need to go here, I need to go there, I need to take this amount of items from the little item boxes to be able to make sure I can get there without carrying too much, so I can pick up any extra key items that come on my way. In this, it was more of a case of going into this door, oh no, wrong way. Go back through the other door. Okay, so I know I need to go up, I need to take the first door on the left. But the environments all look the fucking same. The environments are fucking shit. They're so bad. They're so badly designed that everything looks the fucking same. So unless you're going into a particular place that you've seen 10 times before, you have no way to be able to orient yourself as you move around the environment. Terrible. Fucking terrible. And like you say, it just extends your playtime because you're doubting yourself on where you need to go, even though it's flashing at you where you need to go, but you can't find the right way there because you're going all the wrong ways to find the right way because the map doesn't give you a pointer. What were they thinking?
Like, my experience is very similar to yours, as much as we had quite different playthroughs. Like, I'm in the map all the time, trying to work out where I was going, trying to plan ahead. Remember, I've got 0 ammo. I've already blasted everything into the latest raptor that's jumped down and scared the shit into me, right? My viewers are laughing at me on Twitch because I'm going into a room, seeing a raptor going, ah! And then jumping back out because I've gone the wrong way because I don't need to go past that raptor again. Honestly, the maps, as you said, they're an act against God.
What about yourself, Spence? Are you falling in line with us on this one?
I'll tell you what, boys. Strangely enough, this is where we disagree. As much as a pointer in the map would have been extraordinarily beneficial, I found the map wasn't that bad. Just because, granted, sometimes it was confusing, but most of the time you could kind of figure out where you were just from the layout of the room. It's just kind of whenever I entered a room, I kind of just look around and then open the map, and I'd just kind of know where I was in that room. It's maybe just I was a bit more precautious when looking at the map than you boys might have been, but I found the map fine. My only issue was when something wasn't flashing on the map, and I was like, oh, what the fuck do I do now? That wasn't my only issue, because whenever you start an encounter, this is one of my big pet peeves with this fucking game. Say you encounter a dinosaur, yeah? And then a cutscene starts. That music keeps playing. Bro, I couldn't hear a fucking thing that was going on in the cutscene. So the lore, over my head. What I have to do next, fuck knows. I have to hope they gave me an item and then I can suss it out myself. Otherwise, I'm just kind of exploring until I figure it out. Which I could do, because the map wasn't that bad. That's my opinion.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, for me, I was just kind of echoing Phil's thoughts there. My biggest pet peeve with this game is the menu system. The menu system is terrible in literally every single way. It's unnecessarily convoluted. There's multiple menus for mixing items, key items, weapons, when it could have all been streamlined together. I know they're trying to create a separate, a kind of divergence from Resident Evil here. But Resident Evil did it right with their menu design. It's simple. You go onto one page, you can see your health. You can see everything from that one page. You don't need to go into separate menus unless you're looking at past notes. On this game, not only is it a case you've got 4 different menus to kind of navigate through to be able to just check where things are, you've also do not have notes written down. For some ungodly reason, for a game that is very specific on you learning what codes are, which you'll need way later on. It doesn't give you the option to go back through those files. So then you get to a point where you think, where did I find that document? Which room was that? Let's use this bullshit map to try and find my way back to this document so I can reread it, take pictures on my phone because it's not fucking written down, to then go back to this other place, which takes me 10 times because I'm going in all the wrong fucking rooms, to get back there to lay a code in that I could have just gone onto a menu and looked at, which they did from the first Resident Evil game in 1996. What were they thinking? It's actually ridiculous.
Oh, I love old games, don't you?
It's just, the thing is, it's not even the case that the game's old, because they'd already done this for 2 previous games. Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 1 did this fine. And it's like, I get it, okay, maybe with items you think, right, well, we can have them on a separate menu, and sure, you got like, 20 slots or 10 slots? I can't remember how many there are on each page, but you got 2 pages worth of items you can hold. Great, cool, no problem at all. Why make it that you can't even see your health? Like, you have no idea what your health is in this fucking game because it doesn't tell you. You've got to go off the fact that, are you limping? And then by the time you realize you're limping, you're like, am I in caution? Or am I like near death? And you have no real way of knowing until you take a swipe from the raptor and it kills you. And you're like, oh, brilliant. Okay, so I must have been on red caution instead of being on normal caution. And you have no way. So I was like, well, I got 1,000,000 heals here at one point. I'll just use them whenever I go into caution. And then I've got no heals. And so that's why I had that experience that I had no heals, because I was like, as soon as I moved into being a little bit slower, bro, I'm just pumping a heal in. I was like, I'm just pumping a heal in and just running it. Crazy design decisions to make a difference from Resident Evil when there really wasn't a necessary need to do that. Do you guys agree with me on this, or am I just on my own on this one?
Oh, I 100% agree. And I think it's something that the developers realized. And I think they did patch this in to the Dreamcast version. If I've not been misquoted here, that I've read something on Wikipedia where you could see Regina's health. Because the Dreamcast game came out later than the PlayStation game. And I believe that was an option within the menu structure.
Oh, like on the VMU in front of you? Like on the little memory card, the VMU units that you had on Dreamcast?
Yes, that was it. Yes, exactly that. That's what it was. Yes, it wasn't in the menu structure. It was on the actual handset where you could see your health.
Oh, see, that would have been so handy. That would have solved so many issues for me, just having that. But, Spence, what about you? You seem to have been taking a different stance from me and Phil when it comes to a lot of these things. How are you falling on this one?
I mean, the health issue is definitely a fucking issue. Not knowing how much health you have is just never a good time. And now with the new games coming out, like say you're playing... Well, games have clear indicators of your health now. And if you're playing, say, a game on the PS4 or the PS5, that controller LED, you'll have green if you're full health, yellow if you're not, red if you're almost dead. Even the controller tells you what health you're on, similar to the Dreamcast version of this game. Why does the base game just not tell you? Unless you're limping, which makes your run slower, your animation slower, everything's slower. And it's like, well, I'm just dragging out my freaking game time now. I need to use a heal. I've got 3 left. Oh, I've been hit again, out of my heal. As soon as I leave the menu, oh, I've been jumped. I have to mash now. It's not good, but I don't think that is the biggest issue. I think what you said about notes not being stored and documents not being stored in your menu, that is severely worse than the health issue. The fact that you have to remember everything or take a picture or physically write down a code and where it belongs, I understand it. And the game's paced well enough that you're kind of finding codes maybe 5 to 10 minutes before it's needed. But it should just be stored. There is no reason for them to have made that change. I really don't understand why they did it. And now that we're playing in 2022, where we have, we can just take pictures of it and know, or look it up if we need to, it's fine. But playing this game on release, I'd imagine those documents not being in your menu being an absolute nightmare. So fucking awful change for this game.
because I played this before as a kid, I do remember that this was a frustrating game when it came to the codes and unlocking doors, and you had to remember everything that was kind of given to you in these documents. So I did have my handy pad and paper when I did play this game, so I didn't run into any of these problems, but I was prepared. I think somewhere on the case it should probably say, please have a pad and pen ready, because I can't imagine back in the day, well, 1999, who had a camera phone? Who even had a camera back in those days? You'd have to get on Polaroid or something, right? But there is a couple of positives that we've kind of glossed over a little bit, and it is down to the damage, right? I really like the bleeding state, because I've been doing a bit of research, and you are slowly losing health through that bleeding state, and that's a very realistic effect for 1999. And lots of people, on the forums, they are saying it's a bit like the poison state within Resident Evil, but it's a little bit different because you are actually dripping blood as you're running around. So there is a visual kind of clue, a visual indicator that you are losing those health, and you do need to, find a heal at some point. And I also really, really liked in the game, and forgive me if I'm wrong, Davey, please keep me honest on this one, because you're much, much more of an expert on Resident Evil than I am these days. But in Dino Crisis, you can drop your gun when an enemy attacks you. I've never seen that in Resident Evil. Does that happen very often?
No, it never happened in Resident Evil. And I tell you what, when it happened on this, I was blown away by it, because it just created, like they've gone for this panic horror. It does create this panic where I thought I was in control of the situation. I had my tranq gun ready. I was just trying to line my shot up. I didn't want to waste my ammo. And then you just get attacked and you just lost it. And you're like, oh, Jesus. And sure, it's there for you to pick up, right? But you've got to get back into the danger zone to get it. And I think that's really important what you said about the bleed state, because when the bleed state first happened to me, I didn't really know what it was. I thought, okay, is this a case that dinosaurs are going to track me, go in different places because I'm bleeding on the ground? I was thinking, surely the AI isn't that advanced for PS1. It can't be that, right? And then as soon as I realized that, this is the poison state. This is just the poison state from Resident Evil, but just way more visually appealing than that. I really enjoyed it. I thought the bleed state was great. I thought it was phenomenal. And that's kind of what caused me then to make sure that I was taking those heals that could cure that bleed state, right? That I could run myself down bleeding all over the place. I was bleeding like a fucking stuffed pig. There's blood everywhere going on, because I'm like, I'll run this down as long as I can before I use my health kit plus, to be able to cure everything all in one go.
But yeah, of course, you never knew when you were close to dying with that bleed state. You were just bleeding because the animation was all the same all the way through. So when you were on the brink of death, or you just had a cut on your finger, you were still acting exactly the same. Regina would just have a slightly limp to her walk, and it was slightly slower, I think, for her to lift her gun, if the Wikipedia is correct on that one. But going back to dropping guns when dinosaurs attacks, that didn't always happen in cutscenes. If I remember specifically, there was a bit where a pterodactyl picks you up and you drop the gun. I think a raptor jumps out of a door and you drop your gun, but that can happen in combat as well. And I thought that was a very unique Dino Crisis thing for 1999. And as you said, it's scary when you drop your gun, because you don't get a chance then to get that gun again if you decide to move on. If you haven't got any ammo, you've just got to run, right? Or try and swerve this dinosaur to get that gun back. If you haven't got the health and you decide to progress through the story, you've got to do it without that shotgun, without that handgun. It's madness. You literally have to go back and face that dinosaur.
Yeah, you do, and it's a great inclusion, and it just adds a lot of extra tension to what would just be like a default enemy into the experience.
I'll tell you what, boys, that has actually blown my mind, because that didn't happen to me once in my playthrough. It happened to me on the cutscene when the pterodactyl attacks you when you drop your gun, but otherwise, throughout the entire game, it didn't happen at all. I never dropped my gun, and that has blown my mind. That is actually an awesome mechanic in this game. That is really fucking cool. And just to go back to you boys talking about the bleeding state, I had no idea what that was either. And what I thought it was, which made sense to me, and why I didn't really care about it until near the end of my playthrough. When you enter a room, a dinosaur won't actually aggro onto you until it sees you. I thought it meant when you went into a room, maybe it could smell the blood, and it'd be aggro immediately. And that's what I thought it did. However, 20 minutes of bleeding later, and I start limping, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I die, and I was like, oh, fuck, I guess it kills me. And then, obviously, I ended up having to add the hemostats to my inventory, and that's how I made that change, and how I played the game.
I've got another quick plus to this game. And again, Davey, as the Resident Evil expert, I'll push this back to you straight away. But in Dino Crisis, the dinosaurs in 1999 can follow you through doors. Scary, right? In Resident Evil, in those days, to my mind, you go through a door and that was it. You were safe. In Dino Crisis, boy, you ain't safe. These dinosaurs follow you. And then they come into the room, there's an animation, and you're like, oh no, I've got no ammo because I've been shooting everything. And now I've got to find this very specific item, or I've got to go through kind of a document that's on the side and get this code before I can run back to somewhere else. I'm not safe. I'm never safe in this game.
Yeah, it's a great little illusion the game does, because not every enemy can follow you. I did quite a bit of testing on this. Now I'm quite lame. If anyone saw my stream when I did my first stream of Dino Crisis, already a game I do that I'm doing a review on. I do quite a bit of testing on the AI to see what the kind of limits are, so I can get an idea of what the kind of rules are that I'm operating under. And when it comes to dinosaurs on this, they don't all follow you, but it's specific rooms that they will then just burst through the grates. So even if you do kill enemies, they will then still burst through. So a classic example of that is there's a central lift that then you take towards getting up to the control center for the for a device that you use. And obviously, we're going to the plot in a little bit, but as soon as you go into that lift, regardless of if you've killed every enemy around, you will always have a dinosaur burst through. And that is where then my kills start racking up for dinosaurs, because as soon as you got a key item in an area, that dinosaur's getting the source. There's no way I'm going to be peeling through a file and having a little velociraptor on my ass. So at that point then it was, okay, let's pull out the poison rounds and just kill this thing in one shot. Now, did you guys ever make any of those poison darts? Because they are insanely good. Did you ever do that?
I'm unsure, because I think the darts that I used pretty much always killed in one. So I would assume they were. So
there was 3 different levels of dart, right? There was, if my memory serves on this, and I'm not Googling this, so by all means, someone feel free to Google it, but there was an anesthetic dart, then there was an anesthetic dart plus, which would then knock them out for longer. But then if you took that anesthetic dart plus and you mix that then with one of the boosters to anesthetic properties, you could then make that into a poison dart, which would then just kill that enemy outright in one dart. And I pretty much put all my kind of mixing talent into making those, so that then whenever I got into a situation where I thought, oh, we got a fight on our hands here, I could kill them in one. Now, what I didn't realize at the time is that it doesn't work on bosses. So I wasted a good number of them on a T-Rex fight that we'll talk about later on. And then I had to reload my save, because those things are quite labor intensive. There's a lot of resources that go into making these poison darts. But they were a godsend. As soon as I got into a situation where there's a key item around, those poison darts are coming out and I'm just putting something down.
So I've just jumped on the wiki. So you have the Dart S, Dart M, and Dart L. And then you've got the upgrade to the poison dart. So the poison dart's the red one for anyone going through the playthrough. So that's the one to aim for when you're doing your mixing. I would confidently say I did mix that, but it didn't spring to my mind that I did. So potentially I'll have to review the VODs. It'll be all on Twitch.
I know for a fact I never mixed a poison dart, but I did, which is something we haven't talked about yet. I bought one of the red boxes with the plugs. We haven't talked about that yet in this so far. You can find plugs throughout the map, and using the plugs, there are boxes placed in the walls, and they differ from green, which is for heals, red, which is for ammo, and yellow, which is a mix for both. And I found a lot of plugs, so I opened quite a lot of them. Initially, I was just opening the green ones because the red ones cost 3 plugs, whereas yellow and green cost 1. But I thought, you know what, let's see what's in the red one. And I opened it, and there was a poison dart in there with a fucking some dinosaur's name on it. And, oh, those poison darts are useful, man. Those poison darts are really fucking good. But I only used that one that I found throughout the entire playthrough. I only used one poison dart.
I think that's a great thing for you to bring this on to. Actually, is we were saying originally on this that we're going to talk about our pros and our cons, and I've been very much on the cons front. So I think it's about time that I start talking about some of the things that I really enjoyed as part of this game, and the one is the one that you just hit on straight away, Spence, which is the item boxes. I think the item boxes are phenomenal. As Phil said at the start of this, choice is always my major thing when it comes to these survival horror games, and making you doubt your choices and making you think, God damn it, why did I open that box? Why did I open the yellow when I needed the red? Right? And that kind of choice that you get as that as part of the plugs. So you're right. So across the environment, you find plugs, and then different boxes will have different requirements for the number of plugs that you need. Now, the great thing about it, and something I didn't realize until about 2/3 of the way through the game, is that those boxes, say you open one at the beginning area of the game, and you open one right at the end, you can access every single box of the same color from that one box. Holy hell, that is one of the best inclusions ever, because I mostly opened green boxes, but then I did have the odd yellow. I think I had 2 or 3 yellow and 1 or 2 reds. And so the reds were great because then you get a lot of like heavy hitting ammo. And so I could think to myself, right, well, I don't really carry too much ammo out into the field. I have like very minimal amounts. I had like 6 or 7 poison darts. So that was enough to kill 6 enemies, which is way more than I'd ever need. And then a couple of tranq darts. And that's pretty much all I had throughout my entire run. So at the end, and I'll get onto my end inventory in a minute, I had so much extra ammo in those, split up across those reds, and I organized them in such a nice little way that I knew that this one has all my grenade rounds, this one has all my tranks, this one has all my little things that I can combine into stuff. And then the greens and the yellows were exactly the same. And I love the way they did that, because it just adds this extra element of doubt into your playthrough, which to me is what survival horror is all about. It's all about being unsure about where you're going to go, what you need to do, and what you need to take out into that field and into that battle. And I think this did the item box in a way that Resident Evil wishes it could do it. I think it did it in the best way I think I've seen it implemented so far. And that's kind of not my biggest plus of this game, but that's definitely one of my pluses. And I'll get into my bigger plus when we get back around to talking about that. I was very much a case of, I've got all this ammo, but I'm never going to use it. Right? I'm never shooting a single shot. I was like, these dinosaurs are near extinction level, right? They should have been extinct, but they've been brought through a time portal, which obviously we're going to. I'm not going to kill them, right? These things are probably worth something on the black market. I was thinking Regina's, this is a traumatic experience, but she's going to get something out of this, right? Maybe open a theme park. Maybe, just put on a little white hat and a cane and start stumbling around. Welcome to Jurassic Park. Da, 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 da. I'm Regina and I got stacks of money because I kept them all alive. And that's my kind of mindset when I went through this game.
Davey, did I say I killed these dinosaurs? Because I missed them. I missed a lot of them. I was shooting off the ammo. I was blindly panicked, and I was like, bam, 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 bam. And I was like, oh, now I'm out of ammo, right? Now I've got to swerve all these dinosaurs. So I would confidently say 50% of them lived. So I could open a theme park, but a much smaller theme park than you.
Fair. Well, I want to bring it on before I go into any more negatives, because I do have a couple of other negatives that I want to go through. I want to take it up a notch and take it to a bit of positivity on this. Because we've all said about how the note-taking on this game is essential because of the puzzles that are there. I want to know about the puzzles, guys. Because for me, there's a standout of the game. I think the puzzles in this game are phenomenal, and I really enjoyed every single one. Getting your DDKs, finding your DDKK, and be like, oh, I got the DDKK, the other side of it. Let's put it in. Let's start this puzzle. And then all I got to do is remember the file which tells me how to solve this DDK from 10 rooms ago and try and remember how to go about solving it. But after my first encounter with this, I took my pictures and I had my notes. No problems. I just really enjoyed immersing myself and going into them. How did you guys find the different puzzles that appear over your playthrough?
Honestly, mate, same as what you've said, they were my standout as well. The puzzles in this game are actually awesome. All but one. I didn't like the pipe puzzle. where you have to line the pipes up quite early on in the game. Outside of that, the puzzles where you have to change the key cards, so you have to like, it gives you colors. You have the empty and the blue bars, and you have to fit them in the same way that it's showing you. That's really cool. And then later they add on to that and it becomes harder, but it's really fun to do. It's kind of like the same sort of puzzle you'd get in Spider-Man PS4. It was a similar puzzle to that. And the DDKs, it's kind of like, DDKs are frustrating. And then as soon as you figure it out, you're like, oh, of course. And then that's it. For the rest of the game, you know what you're doing. You're sorted. A bit trickier when numbers come into it, but you understand the general gist of those puzzles, and they're really fun to kind of figure out. I think the puzzles are really good in this game. The battery puzzles, easy as fuck, granted, but they're just fun. All the puzzles in this game, I think, are actually very fun to do, and I enjoyed almost all of them.
What about yourself, Phil?
So for me, Davey, they were a nice break from the panic shooting. It slowed down the game because, of course, once you enter into one of these puzzles, the screen takes over and the dinosaurs can no longer attack you, which is very nice for me because I was running to these puzzles and clicking into them so the velociraptors couldn't take me down. But yeah, you're right. So many different puzzles throughout the game, and they were all very intricate, and I did struggle on a few, I will admit. They did take me a little bit of time, but with a little help from my Twitch following, I was managed to solve them. I think they took me way longer than they should have. You are right about the pipe puzzle, Spencer. That one was a little bit ridiculous. That was just an order, wasn't it? I think just top to bottom pretty much just solved it. But as soon as you sat on a computer or you had to move like boxes to be able to get to certain characters that had maybe passed away and had dropped a key or something like that, or you had to like shift boxes around a room so you could like get to the next section of the map. Yeah, they were all really intricate, and I think they were challenging, definitely.
I think it's important to note on this. Did anyone use a guide when they played through the game? Phil, you mentioned about your Twitch audience helping you out. Did you use any kind of guide or walkthrough as you progressed through the game?
Yeah, little bits I had to look back on because I wasn't confident where I was going, and I thought I was under time pressure because I thought we had an audience which we needed to get this out to. But it's fine. I could have taken my time. But yeah, I did use a guide for little bits, but primarily it was just my brain and my Twitch followers' brain versus the game.
What about yourself, Spence?
I used a walkthrough, but it was in the sense of I didn't use it for any puzzles because I love puzzles. Puzzles are fun. I tried to avoid it for puzzles, and it was mostly a case of if the game wasn't obvious where I had to go, I didn't want to waste time. So I just watched where this fella went. And let me also say, by the way, this walkthrough I watched pissed me the fuck off. The guy that was doing the walkthrough was very clearly reading IGN's walkthrough, and he had no fucking clue what he was doing. So many times, I just watched it on my phone next to me, followed where he went, and he's gone the wrong fucking way. I've been attacked by 2 dinosaurs. I'm fucking limping my way back, and I'm not even in the right room. I was like, this dickhead. And as soon as that happened, that's where I was kind of like, this walkthrough sucks. I'm not going to use it unless I need to. And then it's finding, whereas instead of seeing where he goes, see where he ends up. So not the direction, see where he ends up and see if I can remember where it is and try figure it out myself, but just know how to progress. That's kind of how I use the walkthrough.
For myself, I didn't use a walkthrough, but one thing I did do quite a lot of is I did a lot of like save scumming. So if it was a case that I remember it actually clear as day, I was looking for where I found a particular fingerprint to get me into a lab. And so I was going to all these dead bodies that I knew were part of it, scanning the fingerprint, and then going back and trying that, and it just wasn't working. And I was like, what the hell? And so throughout my run, while I was trying to find where the right one was, I'd probably use like every single bit of ammunition I had. I'd like use loads of heals. I'd gone into like the starting area, like where there's that guy who's like ripped in half, like down one of the terminals on the outside. Went all the way back around there, looking for him. And then as soon as I found where the right one was, I was then in the case of, right, reload my save. Let's just go straight to that point and carry on. I did that about 2 or 3 times throughout my playthrough. So my actual playtime, when we get into our endgame stats, you could probably add about 2 or 3 hours onto that maybe. But that's all I did. I didn't really resort to having to use anything else to get me through the game apart from excessive trial and error, which I think is very very apt in this game.
Yeah, the fingerprint scanner, that was definitely something I used the guide for, because I think I went round to like 2 or 3 dead bodies, and as you were save scumming, I was just running through and trying to avoid them because I'd used all my ammo. So at that point I was like, right, I cannot go any further and not know where I'm going. So at that point I did go to the guide and find out who that I needed to scan the fingerprint and to get the code to be able to get to the next part of the game. But then everything else I was just trying to do myself.
Well, I got a couple of other things I want to kind of go on with this before we start going into the plot and the kind of the choices and really start breaking down kind of individual sections of the game. There's a couple of other notes that I've got here that I kind of want to cover off, and I'll see if you guys agree or disagree with me on. First off, keeping it to the positives, I think graphically this game is really impressive. Like, really, really impressive. Seeing as I've only just played Resident Evil 2, which came out the year before this, and I know Resident Evil 3 like the back of my hand, this game, in terms of its character models and its enemies that you encounter, is great. I mean, to actually have character faces in this game, as opposed to Resident Evil 2, where it's like kind of the Metal Gear Solid approach, where it's kind of like a blank slate almost. I thought that blew my mind. I thought the cinematography on this game and how it's all in-engine is really impressive.
From what I read, I think that was a conscious choice by the game developers. If you look at the scenery, it is very plain. And I think you said this right at the start of the podcast. They kept the environments very simplistic so they could up the polygon count on the characters and the enemies.
Yeah, and it definitely shows. Now, on this same thing, even though I'm giving them a positive, I'm still going to low blow them right here and now. I love the dynamic camera this game has, as opposed to, say, classic Resident Evil. Really enjoyed it. Same kind of camera work that they did later on in 2001 when you're talking about Code Veronica. Very, very similar. In fact, it's actually identical. The only thing that I think this game could have benefited from is pre-rendered backgrounds. I think if this game had gone, instead of it being in-engine, in-game backgrounds, and like you said, they're being low poly count, I think personally, for me, I would have preferred it be a pre-rendered background so that you've got more distinctive environments where you can still then put that polygon count into those characters. And I think it was very brave of them to take the decision they did to be able to do this, because it is kind of groundbreaking, especially for the survival horror genre. For me, it just didn't work very well, because it meant that environments, not only are they samey, but when you've got an item that's in that environment, it doesn't stand out. And it makes it quite hard to identify when there's something you need to interact with. And I found that a major kind of bugbear for me. Do you guys feel the same way on this?
No, because I think the fully 3D environments for this world were groundbreaking, because you didn't see that in Resident Evil until Code Veronica, as you said. So it was ahead of its time. So of course you're going to have issues with it. It was the first time Capcom had done this within a survival horror game. So for me, I was happy to accept the low polygon count and to accept a little bit of jankiness with the camera, but it didn't put me off the game at all, personally.
What about yourself, Spence? For
me, the environments, as much as they maybe, in a weird way, didn't look as nice as they could have if they were pre-rendered, I liked how the game looked. I was fine with it. I didn't really have any issues with it. The only complaint I kind of had about the 3D modeled environment was there are many things in this game that you can push to get an item from underneath. And I found a lot of the time it was kind of hard to see what you could push and what you couldn't.
It makes me laugh because you can't walk past a bookcase in this game without pushing it. And everyone has got ammo or health under. Every single one of them. So as soon as you see it, you're like, that's a given. That's just an item, right? So you always push it. But yeah, no, I do echo your thoughts on that, because it was sometimes hard to find what angle you needed to push. And it did take a couple of times to be able to get to that angle. But I guess that's just kind of, I'm so used to PS5, aren't I, right? Where everything looks beautiful and everything acts in a certain way. To go back to a PS1, yeah, it's a little bit strange.
The other kind of things that I want to kind of ask your guys' opinion on with this, there's a couple. We won't spend too long on them, but I think they're worth kind of saying here. The enemy variety. Now, for me personally, it's a game where you're fighting raptors. You're fighting raptors and you've got 2 flying pterodactyls. and then a T-Rex. Kind of about it. It's mostly you versus Raptor. It might as well be called Raptor Crisis. I thought there was some major missed balls here. I don't know why every single thing is a raptor. I don't know. Was this part of the lab when they went back in time just raptor territory and they randomly, it's just a T-Rex just like, oh shit, I'm here as well. I'm out of my zone. And he's like, oh no, you're in this too, buddy. But that seemed to me, I was like, oh, come on, man. How many goddamn blue raptors am I gonna see? And then when you get towards the end game, it's like, oh, they're red raptors now, buddy. Great. Awesome. It's just the same model over and over and over again. And sure, you could say in Resident Evil, yeah, they're zombies. And yeah, they all may be wearing lab coats, right? But at least you got hunters and you got tarantulas and you got kind of everything else that's thrown in the mix. You got a giant snake. You got kind of everything in that game. In this, it's just, hope you like raptors, son, because you're going to be fighting them for the next 7 hours.
Reading on the Wikipedia, there are 6 enemies, 4 of which are raptors. There's a bigger raptor, and there's some slightly smaller raptors, but pretty much everything you face in this game is raptor-based. Outside that, you've got the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the Pterodactyl.
Where's my boy, the Stegosaurus? Where is my homie, the Triceratops? What are they thinking?
They could have thrown a Diplodocus in for the mix. Why not?
Exactly. Could I not scale one maybe and check my map, like on Horizon? Maybe that's how you get the compass. Maybe you got to scale the Diplodocus with your little shooter thing. You know, you just go up right to the top of it. It's like, and then you just like stab it in the head, and then you just find out. Oh, now there's a compass on the map, boys. Now you're going to make your playthrough actually enjoyable instead of you going through the wrong door every 10 minutes. Maybe I'm thinking too far ahead of the curve here.
Exactly, and you could have had his big brother, you know, the Bronchiosaurus, and that could have revealed the whole map. Why not? There are so many dinosaurs to go through here, and we've got 4 raptors.
I didn't have much issue with the enemy variety. I know they won a lot. There was none. There was no variety, to be fair. But that was fine. I didn't really expect there to be a lot of variety. My main issue with the enemies is those tiny little fuckers, those little dinosaurs. What did they do other than just randomly go, ah? Because I didn't get hit by one once. They were literally surrounding my feet as I walked out a door, and I had to just kind of try tank control my way out of them. Awkwardly, backstep a little bit, turn left a little bit, walk forward, and there's another one there blocking my path, and they just go, ah, and they don't hit me. I never got damaged by one. What the fuck was the point in those little dickheads?
Yeah, they were completely pointless. They feel like in Resi when you fight, like you've killed the mama spider and those little spiders come out. You're never worried about those. You just step all over them, right? And so I was just standing on them, just like, yeah, just walking through them. They were just quite happy. To be honest, they felt like they were my friends. Like, you know, as if I could maybe tame a couple. They'd be the kind of dinosaurs that I'd put in my bag. You know, maybe I could have 5 inventory slots left, put one in my bag and take it home with me, and it would just be quite a nice little mate. Maybe it's annoying, like my cats sometimes. They kind of just get all under your feet as you're trying to walk, especially when you're in a rush. Maybe that would be their purpose as a house pet, but I'd quite like them to be around because they certainly weren't threatening, that's for damn sure. Now, the biggest plus I can give this game, apart from the plot, which we'll get onto in a minute, is the weapon upgrades. I adored going around the environment and finding different upgrades that could then change my base arsenal, change my pistol into being a more powerful version, change my shotgun into actually being a bit of an arse kicker, or change my grenade launcher to be able to do even more damage than it already is. And for me, I found that these weapon upgrades being dotted around the map just gave you great incentive to be able to take your time and explore the environment so that you weren't missing anything out. I loved it. I thought it was a great inclusion to be able to keep you in this world and keep you moving from point to point, but then maybe check out this room because there might be something shiny in there. And I loved it. I thought it was a great way to be able to put yourself in unnecessary danger to be able to go in. Like, I think about the first part you get a upgrade, if I remember rightly, is in the club area, which is on the top level of the... You go into like a central area where it's got the outside door and it's got a DDK underneath, and you take the stairs up, And there's then 3 rooms, the one of which you use to be able to progress the story onwards, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. But then there's a room on the left, which is just a club room, and it's got a safe in the corner. And you find the code for that then later on in the game. And it just gave me a great incentive to be able to backtrack on myself, go back to that safe, unlock that safe, and get that upgrade for that pistol. And I thought that was just great. I thought it was a great way to be able to put myself in a room with 2 dinosaurs, which I knew were in there, that hadn't gone away, and to be able to fight my way back through to be able to get that thing I missed. Am I alone in thinking this one? Spence, what about you? How did you feel about these weapon upgrades?
I like the weapon upgrades a lot. They're very Resident Evil because they kind of have the same sort of thing. Or at least in like RE2 remake and stuff, you can find stuff like that. It's kind of a general thing in those games, and they've obviously passed it over. But I remember I upgraded my pistol with the sight, which I think is the one you're talking about in the safe. I upgraded my shotgun with the stock, and then I upgraded it again with something else. I can't remember what. And I upgraded my grenade launcher to make it fire consecutively without having to reload after each shot. And those are the only upgrades I found. I'm not sure if there's more. If there are, I missed them. But those are all I found in my playthrough. And I thought they were great additions because as good as that grenade launcher was already, I just felt like my shotgun was so much better until I found the consecutive rounds.
Reading on the Wikipedia, you use the Glock 34, which is your handgun, and you can upgrade it with the handgun slides, which converts it to the Glock 35. Then you've got the handgun sight, which you're talking about in the library in B1. That increases the chance of a critical hit with the gun. Then you've got the Fenerbahce PA3, which is your shotgun, which you can upgrade with the shotgun parts. And then you've got the 40mm grenade pistol, and then you can find grenade parts for that as well to upgrade that. And that is devastating once you get it. And you'll definitely need it towards the end because it makes the final boss a lot easier if you've got those parts.
Now, guys, I've been talking quite a lot about what I did and didn't like. Spencer, have you got anything on here that you want to shout out, something that you feel very positively on?
There's mostly only 2 things I feel positively on this game, like 2 big things, that is. And the one is obviously the puzzles, which we've already discussed. The other thing, which I really liked and kind of changed the way I encountered enemies in this game, is those laser grids that you find throughout the course of the game. You find laser grids with switches that you can use to turn them on and off, and you get access to more and more throughout the game as Rick, one of the characters in the game, gives you access to those. And those switches completely changed my playthrough of this game. Basically, I'd either, if I ran into a room and there was a dinosaur, usually if I knew there was a switch in that room, I would try to evade the dinosaur, get past it, and then as soon as I'm past it, turn the laser on. And that's it, I know I'm safe. But also, if I entered a room and there's a laser in front of me and a dinosaur in that room, I would kind of just hug the switch and wait for the dinosaur to approach me. And then as soon as it jumps into that laser, like the fucking big idiot it is, turn the laser off and just run straight past it because I know I've got the time. And it just made me feel a lot safer. Whereas usually you just have to evade them and just hope for the best. Maybe I get hit, maybe I don't. But these were like a guaranteed way, if you're smart about it, to evade the dinosaurs. And I really like the way they're implemented and just kind of how scattered they are throughout the map because they're not always there. But where they are, they're in crucial places. And those rooms where they are placed, I would never kill a dinosaur because I knew I had a guaranteed way to evade them. And I feel like they were, those laser grids were just as important to me in this playthrough as a shotgun shell or a poison dart. They may as well have just been more ammunition in my inventory because those completely changed the way I approach this game.
I gotta agree with you on that one. I think they're crucial, absolutely crucial to be able to get through the game in a way that you're not burning through resources, which you could otherwise. Now, the place my mind always goes to is there's one section of the game which is quite late into it. You get the Rick unlocks a set of different keyboards that you can use, and there's one right next to where you go to find parts, which we'll discuss later on. And in there's 3 different laser grids in a row, and there's 2 enemies that are in this field. And the best thing I did, one of the early things I did as soon as I unlocked those fields, is run them right to the end of that map and then just lock them in place. And you think, oh, thank God. And you just lock them behind a laser grid and you think, oh, safety. I don't need to use any resources. I've managed to do this without getting hit or maybe taking one slight little hit. Totally worth. And you're right. There's just this moment when you know you got to go through somewhere that you've previously locked a dinosaur behind. You think, oh, Jesus Christ. Why didn't I kill it? Why didn't I just, like, avoid this early? Why did I lock him here? I need to get past here. And then you got to go through that song and dance again of luring him back over, locking him again behind somewhere else, which inevitably you have to go back through there again and unlock him to get through again later on. But deal with that as it comes. You're totally right. That's a high point for me.
And if you got the ammo, you can shoot them through the laser gates. So you can trap them and dispose of them whenever you like, really. So they are very, very handy. But going back to kind of like certain aspects of the game, and I think one that we've missed, and it's an unsung hero when it comes to Dino Crisis, and I'm talking about the vents. When you go to those vents, it's almost like I want a Resident Evil-esque save room kind of theme going on in the background, because you just know you're safe in the vents. There's never a dinosaur in the vents, and you run through, you open up a door, you're faced with a Velociraptor, but luckily there's a vent, so you go up your little zip line, up into the vent, and then you're like calm again. Can plan where I need to go. You can look at those maps extensively, try and work out where you are, come down out of the vent, go, oh crap, I've misunderstood the map. I need to go back up the vent and come down a different section within the game. And then you found your right path to where you need to be. But definitely those vents, as I said, they're a moment of sanctuary in the game, a moment of calm, which I think the game needs, especially the way I played it.
Yeah, definitely 100%. And like you said, it's nice to be able to, like, when you figure out the environment and you know, right, well, I need to run down this corridor, get up this vent, and then it's just a straight line then to where I need to go. And when you don't need to rely on the map later on, when you've kind of learned where you need to go, the vents are just fantastic. They cut out so much backtracking. They cut out so many different ways of you going through one door and going into another one. They're crucial. They're crucial to your playthrough. And like you said, they're just that moment where you can take stock of where you are, what you got with you, what you potentially need, and then go back out into it again and up again when, like you said, you've gone through the wrong one.
Up, down, up, down, 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 up. That's pretty much what I was doing throughout the whole of the game when I could go into those vents. But also, guys, before we move this podcast on, let's talk about the save rooms. Because in Resident Evil, we're so used to finding ink ribbons, going to a little typewriter, and only being able to save a certain amount of times throughout your playthrough. With Dino Crisis, they simplify all this. You literally walk into a room, you get your theme playing in the background, and when you try to walk out of that door, you get the option to save. And I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was so simplistic as a way to save. It's always marked on your map if you can figure out where the hell it is in the map. But once you're in there, again, you're safe from the dinosaurs. But as soon as you go out that door, you're back to running around shooting crazy.
Yeah. What? You're right. It works really, really well. It's always nice to be able to kind of figure out how these things work. And so when I first went into a save room and then I got that option to save, I was like, I probably won't save. You know, is it going to harm my end of game stats if I don't save? And so I did that quite a lot where I was like, I'm not sure. And then as soon as I had my first encounter of kind of being lost, I was like, do you know what? Fuck my end of round rating. I'm just saving every single chance. Every single time it comes up, do you want to save? I'm like, yes, please. And then I just did the tactical thing of saving in multiple different slots so that just in case I've completely balls it up, I'm not left in an unwinnable situation. And that was a godsend, a really godsend to be able to just save whenever you feel like it, but only in specific places. So it was kind of that hunt to get back to that save room. And even if you know you got to go to that door on your left, and you figure that out on the map after pouring through it for 30 minutes, you think, well, 2 doors down to the right past 3 other doors is my save room. I'll go back there, save, and then carry on. And I found that my path kind of diverted quite a lot from going back to the save room, which I ended up using quite a lot by the end of my playthrough.
It's going to be really interesting when we see that end game kind of view of the game, because it definitely keeps track of the amount of times we save. And I was saving all the time. Hell, I was saving twice just for the fun of it, right? I really enjoyed that kind of process. So yes, I think my score is going to be Probably the highest out of all of us, but we'll wait to the end of the episode to find that out.
I think you'll be surprised at all of our save amounts, because my save number is probably quite high as well. It's just a natural thing, isn't it? Whenever you enter a save room, you feel nice and calm, you leave, and it gives you the option to save. You're not going to be like, no, I probably shouldn't. You're just going to save. Like, you just always do. And same as you, yeah, I saved twice sometimes, mostly just because I was mashing X and just forgot. And it's like, do you want to overwrite? And then you're like, did I save? I don't think I did. But you did. You definitely did. And you just save again. Save rooms were a blessing in that game, and I definitely utilized the fuck out of them. And I saved a lot as well.
If I end up with the most saves out of you guys, I'm going to be so pissed off. Because there was loads of times where I was like, do you know what? I don't need to save right now. And so I didn't. If I end up with the most, I will be very shocked.
Guys, I think in PS Trust we fashion. Let me get my words right. Guys, I think in PS We Trust fashion, we should put a shot on it. Whoever's got the highest amount of saves needs to do a shot at some point in the future. We can save it. We don't have to do it today because we are recording in the day, and doing shots at like 4 o'clock is probably bad. But hey, it's bank holiday. It's the Jubilee. We need to celebrate the Queen today.
I think that's a great idea. I think we should put 2 shots on the line. One for whoever got the quickest completion time should be able to award a shot to somebody they want to at a time they want to. And then whoever got the most saves takes a shot. And we'll do that on the next episode, which, funnily enough, we're recording straight after this. So we're taking them by the end of today, boys. It is happening. So on that note, I think it's about time we start moving it into the plot and start going through the choices that we get as part of the game. Now, guys, I'll cast your mind back, especially for Phil now. You know, he's getting on in years, and it was a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, we'll just do a little refresher. The game takes place on a fictional location, which is Ibis Island, and in the year 2009. So I would have been 20 at the time of this game actually being set. Phil, you've probably been about 52, and Spence, you probably weren't even born. Now, we play as Regina, and she is sent on a investigation to a military research facility to find where Dr. Edward Kirk is, and to kind of bring him back, to go in and save him. He's a world-renowned scientist who's reportedly been dead for 3 years. But we know as part of this that that isn't quite the case. Now, Phil, you have the choices there, don't you?
I do, Davey. I've come with notes.
I think the best way of us going about this is to talk about the choices that we have and use that to kind of structure our conversation about what we've done and what we've experienced. So, what is the first choice we come up about while we're trying to find Dr. Edward Kirk?
Okay, Davey. So our first choice comes in about an hour into the game. You speak to Rick in the control room, and you get the option between Rick's idea, which is to rescue your comrade immediately, and we're talking about Tom, or Gail's idea is to search for clues to find Dr. Kirk. If you pick Rick's idea, Regina decides to follow Rick's plan. They head outdoors to a large-size elevator. Rick and Regina find Tom alive but injured in a large-size elevator control room and plan to take him to the medical room in an underground area. Regina proceeds to reactivate the elevator and removes the cargo in the path while Rick nurses Tom's wounds. Upon arrival in the medical room, a sleeping velociraptor surprises them and Thomas sacrifices himself to save Rick's life. If you choose Gail's idea, Regina decides to follow Gail's plan. She continues to the underground area, leaving Rick alone to help Tom. Without assistance, Rick arrives too late, contacting Regina and telling her that Tom is dead when they arrive. So either way, guys, whatever choice you make, Tom is dead. Tom dies an hour into the game.
Poor Tom. Pour one out for Tom, the homie Tom, who we never really get to know what he actually does. But we learn quite a lot from him in the files, which I'm sure we'll cover off later on. Now, guys, what choice did you go for on this first pivotal one? Did you side with Rick or did you go with Gail? Spence, let's go across to you.
I looked at the options and I had a really bad feeling about Gale just from the start. He was giving me proper Wesker vibes, like throughout the entirety of the game. Immediately off the bat, I was getting Wesker vibes, so I was like, Rick seems like a nice fella. Gale seems like a bit of a cock-ass. So I'm going to go with Rick for this one. And me and Rick kind of just worked together. Went and got our mate Tom, who we've known for years. Lovely chap. Downs a pint like no one's business. And brought him back. Secured him up, fixed him up. And then, he died anyway. It was irrelevant. If anything, we wasted resources that I could have used in my encounters in my game. So, fuck Tom. And fuck Rick for having that idea, actually. But that's the one I chose.
What about yourself, Phil?
Well, I followed the same sort of route as Spencer, actually. Even though I played the game before, Gale doesn't come across very well early doors in this game at all. I think most people who play the game without knowing the ending think he's going to be the bad guy, think he's going to be the big bad. So I followed Rick's idea to try and help our friend Tom. And as we all know, he was the agent of the Secret Operations Raid Team on the espionage operation tied to an unknown country, apparently. We didn't know his origin. He was the one that infiltrates Ibis Island, and he was planning to find out what was happening with Dr. Kirk. So he was part of your team. That's why he was someone of note that you wanted to rescue immediately.
Same thing, guys. We're all on the same page with this one. Tom, I was saving his ass. I was like, yes, I will go out my way. Rick, you seem like a trustworthy guy. You seem like the kind of guy that would put his life down to save somebody else. Gale seems like a bit of a bitch. I was like, I'm not listening to Gale. I'm not being heartless. I'm Regina. I'm here to save people, kill dinos. Although, really, I didn't actually do either of those. Because, yes, as you said, Tom dies. And like Spence said, I just wasted a load of resources, got into a boss fight against a pterodactyl, and kind of just ended up thinking, well, this was all a bit of a waste of time, really. Maybe Gale's on the right strategy with this one. So guys, it's been a couple of weeks since I played the game through, but as far as memory serves, if I remember, with doing the Tom choice and us going to save him, we end up then doing the pipe puzzle, which you guys spoke about earlier, and redirecting kind of the water flow and getting the power back on for the lift. And when you come out of that, you get picked up by a pterodactyl and nearly dropped into a giant fan. Tell you what, guys, I didn't realise that the action prompt was mashing. Did you guys die to that pterodactyl? I must have died there like 10 times. Literally 10 times. And I was like, what do I do? I was like, is there some button I press? Is there some kind of combo I need to do? Is it a case of I shoot him when he's incoming? It took me literally 10 times before I realised, oh, what if I just mash a bit? And they just dropped me, and I was like, oh, fuck's sake. I was so pissed off at that point. Did you guys encounter any problems with that pterodactyl when he's going to drop you straight into that fan?
Did it first time, mate, but I think through the entirety of my playthrough, I was just mashing the pad as hard as I could because I was so panicked. So I managed to pass that quite easily. Unlike later bosses, which we'll talk about, because I definitely struggled later on with this game because mashing did not help.
For me, I kind of, as soon as I see anything come on screen like that, I feel like it's kind of commonplace to mash. If it doesn't give you a prompt, especially, like if it says press square or it's a QTE where it tells you what to press, then you press it. Where if it just pops up being like, yo, danger, 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 fucking hell, do something. I was like, I don't know. Yeah, everything. I pressed everything. Mate, your poor controller, because I lent your PS Classic for my playthrough of this game. Your controller went through it. You know how well I mash. And I realized, because there was a danger encounter prior to that pterodactyl. And that's when I realized that just pressing the face buttons won't do the job. Because my mash is fast. And after that, I realized I have to press all the face buttons, the D-pad, the triggers, and the bumpers all at the same time. That poor controller, man. It might not work the same as it ever did when you get it back. Not going to lie to you. I mashed like crazy. But the pterodactyl flew straight into the fan. I survived. First try on that one.
Well, maybe this is a good thing for me, actually, you borrowing it, because maybe some of your mashing juju will have just like soaked into the pad, and maybe at that point I'll be able to survive, Ocelot's torture device without, nearly sweating into oblivion, without my heart rate going to like 150 BPM. Maybe some of your skill has rubbed off into it. But moving on from that, so after that is all finished, we then reunite with Rick. And the two then come to the conclusion that, yeah, do you know what? Maybe dinosaurs are causing the bloodbath of this base. Maybe it's nothing else. Maybe it is just dinosaurs, right? And so they decide that it's time to haul ass and get out of here. And so you go to get the antenna back online. As soon as you get that antenna back online, you're greeted to a Tyrannosaurus Rex. You're on top of the building. I'll paint the scene for you guys. You're on top of the building. You got to run away from him and get into the next door. How did that encounter go for you guys? Spence, seeing as you're so cracked on the sticks, normally when it comes to video games, how did you get on with that fight?
Not gonna lie to you, I died. I died once. Because I feel like he basically smashes the ground and knocks you flying, and then you start running, and then he smashes the ground behind you again, and then just as you're taking the corner, he smashes the ground again, and that's where you encounter him. That's where you actually have to kind of fight him. It felt like it was unavoidable to dodge that last chomp he did to smash the ground, because I was hugging the wall. I turned as tight as I could with those tank controls. I couldn't really swivel. I had to slowly just rotate as I turned, and I couldn't avoid it. But the second time he knocked me over, I stood up, shot him in the mouth with like 4 or 5 slag rounds in my shotgun, and that was it. That was all it took. And then he just kind of cried and went away because he's a little bitch.
So just to check, you died one time on that fight.
Once.
You, sir, are a fucking god. You, sir, are an absolute living legend. Because for me, I died on that fight so many times that I burnt through every single resus I had, and I hit the game over screen twice through before then I reloaded my save and did it again. I must have died literally about 20 times on that fight before I got through it. He kicked my ass. Literally kicked my ass. But as soon as I realized what I needed to do, in terms of standing there with slug rounds and shoot him as he approached me, fine. Got through the door, saw the cutscene with Rick saying, "Time to go through the door, I finally unlocked it for you. Thanks a fucking lot, Rick. I've only died about 15 fucking times here." It was a nightmare. An absolute nightmare for me. How did you get on, Phil?
I would absolutely love to tell you I did it first time. Having played the game previously, and I was expecting this fight. No, my experience went the same way as you, Davey. I died over and over and over again. I managed to get through, obviously, to the point where you're shooting, but I think the timing was just a little bit off when I was doing it. And when he came in for the big chomp, he actually just destroyed me. So there is a certain place that you can stand where when he lunges into you, he can't actually reach you, and you can still shoot him. And that's the sweet spot you need to stand in. And I think, as Spencer said, it was like 4 or 5 rounds, shotgun rounds that you have to hit him with. And then Rick will eventually call you, even though you sided with him earlier. He should be a lot quicker if you'd sided with him.
So, Phil, it looks like you and me are just mere mortals, whereas Spencer is some kind of god on the stick. So that theory that Spencer just cracked at video games continues until this day. But we'll see how he gets on later on with some of the later fights. So what's the next choice we kind of encounter from there?
Okay, so this comes in around 2 hours sort of play through in the game. So you've got the option of Gale's strategy, which is to break through the area relying upon your skills. You fight through the area of dinosaurs and ensure both players escape before the lockdown is made permanent. This is more dangerous due to going full Rambo on these reptiles. You can side with Rick. You cooperate with Rick and escape through the hatch. Use the lab's computer and escape through the currently sealed hatch. This path requires no fighting. So are you a pacifist or are you a mentalist? That's the question, guys.
Well, as we already said, I'm trying to keep these dinosaurs alive. I'm trying to make some money on the back burner. I'm trying to sell these snakeskin boots to, anyone that wants them. If Ric Flair wants to come out in a brand new dinosaur-esque outfit, I'm going to be the one to make that a reality for him. I don't want to kill these things off. So I sided again with Rick on this one. And I tell you what, that puzzle, Jesus Christ. I'm so glad I had a pen and paper to hand on that one. Because I must have fucked that up twice through and then reloaded my save through and nailed it on the 3rd go. I was like, I don't want to know what reality is if I totally ruin this puzzle. So I'm going to get it, and I'm going to figure it out. And as soon as I realized what it was really simple. But it took me 2 goes through it to realize what it actually was. The first time through, just to paint a picture for you audience, is you're on a computer screen and it's flashing up different things for you to remember. But I didn't realize on my first go, my second go through, that you only had to remember the last one of that flashing sequence. So on the first go through, they're all flashing up. And I was like, okay, right, well, there's, this picture, this picture, this picture. And there's like 20. It's like a sequence of 20 on the last one. I was like, fucking hell, how would anyone remember this, right? I remember I took a video of it on my phone. I was like watching it back, pause the game, watching it. I'm like, okay, where's that one, entering all in. And I run out of digits. I couldn't fit them all in. I was like, what the hell? What have I missed? And I must have done that twice through until it clicked. Oh, it's the last one of the fucking sequence. I just need to remember the last one. And then as soon as I did that, straight through, flying through it, boys. But that was a great puzzle. I loved it so much. I'm so glad I went with that route. What did you do, Phil?
Even though Rick took his sweet-ass time opening that door when I'm struggling against that Tyrannosaurus Rex for God knows how many playthroughs, I followed Rick's strategy, the same as you, Davey. I didn't go full Rambo. I didn't want to follow Gale. I still doubted him, even to this point. And I tried to conquer the little flashing numbers and flashing icons. But this is where my handy pad comes in. Basically, it flashed up and I just noted it down. Flashed up, noted it down. Got that first try. I find it very simplistic.
That kind of makes me sick, actually. It makes you really angry, actually, that I thought about it too much. There's nothing worse than when you go into a game puzzle and you overthink it and you think it's way harder than it actually is and it becomes really simple. Oh, God, so annoying. What did you do, Spence?
Well, I mean, Rick's the homie, boys. Rick comes through. Obviously, I went with Rick's plan. Plus, just prior to this all happening, you kind of encounter that computer and you see the emergency hatch. And I was so curious about it. I was really, curious. And then as soon as the opportunity arose, I was like, yeah, that's going to be a sick puzzle. I know it is. So I want to do that. And I beat it first try. However, you get 2 chances. You're allowed to fuck up once. So for the first 2 sequences, fine. Didn't use any help, nothing. I just did it. For the third one, that's where I fucked up. And it says the code did not match. And I was like, what the fuck? I understood it. I knew it was the last letter that it shows. And I knew what I had to do. I obviously just misremembered it. So similar to what Davey said, and this is for our watchers on YouTube, I just took a video on my phone and kind of did it that way. And that's how I beat it in the end. So that's what the puzzle looks like.
It's a very new school versus old school approach, isn't it? You guys filmed it with this new age mobile phone that can do video. I had an old school pad and paper. I was using what was available to me in 1999. And I played on the original hardware. So I played it as you're meant to play it.
Except that you had Twitch chat coming in and being like, Phil, make sure to press C on this one, all right? Make sure to press B. And you're like, oh, thanks, thank you for helping me on this one, boys. The guys will never have checked my Twitch, so they won't know.
Yeah, I will admit I did have Twitch chat as well, so maybe I didn't play it like 1999.
So after that puzzle, we then move on to the Tyrannosaurus fight, where you see the helicopter come in, everyone is safe, thinking, yay, we're going to get out of here, no problem. And then, bursting out of the bush, comes through this T-Rex that just absolutely smokes a helicopter and scuppers all your plans. And Rick, being the homie that we thought he was, decides, Joe, I'm not going to fight this T-Rex. I'm going to go through this door, lock it behind me, and then I'll tell you when I unlock this door because it's not working for some reason. What a bitch. What a bitch. I was so pissed off with him at that point. How did you guys get on with that fight against that giant T-Rex? Spence, did you source it first time?
I sourced it first time. I did it immediately first try. It starts and the dinosaur's in front of you. There's a fat helicopter that you can kind of use to just run around, get around the dinosaur. And I beat that fight first try without using any resources because I ran around the helicopter, ran to the door, which I thought I had to go to. And Rick says it's going to take him a minute to unlock the door or fix the elevator or whatever the fuck bullshit he's on about. And I thought, maybe I don't need to waste anything. Maybe it is actually just a time thing. So I just kept doing laps evading this T-Rex, and eventually he just went, "The door's open, Regina, come on." And then that was it. I just ran through and I was fine. Not a single resource wasted, no damage taken. Easiest boss fight of my life, really.
Your skill just astounds me. Absolutely astounds me. Because my experience was, I think actually it was bugged, if I'm honest with you. Because my first playthrough, I went into that fight with more grenade rounds than I knew what to do with, more shotgun rounds than I knew what to do. I think I had 12 slug rounds. I think I had like 3 or 4 heals and a full suite, the rest of it are just grenade rounds. And I went into that fight, I pumped every single bit of ammunition I had into that thing, and it just kept going. And I was like, what? I got nothing left. I think I remember on my stream at the time, I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to use? Bad language? I was like, what am I supposed to do here? I had nothing left, right? Literally nothing. I'd used it all on this thing. And so after I died then, to just blood loss from running away from this thing, I reloaded my save, did it again, hit him with 3 grenade launcher rounds, and it ended. And I was like, oh, okay. So it must have been some kind of glitch that I encountered, because my first run, I literally used every single bit of ammo I had, included all my poison rounds. I pumped everything into this thing, and it just kept going. It was like the fucking Terminator, but of dinosaurs. And yeah, terrible, absolutely terrible. But second run through, super easy, didn't get hit. 3 grenade rounds. He opened the door. I just walked straight through and just carried on with the rest of the game. How did you get on with this one, Phil?
Strange this T-Rex keeps coming back, isn't it? It's almost like Capcom have got a formula and they've just followed it. Because the T-Rex is very much the nemesis of Dino Crisis. It follows you everywhere and it appears multiple times. This boss fight, I found very simplistic. I basically just ran away and shot it a few times with the grenade launcher and just waited down the time. But one thing I will admit to, that music, that got my heart pumping. The fight itself wasn't that scary, but I think it was like the cinematic at the start really set the scene with that helicopter. It's all in flames and you've got this big T-Rex and the music is and oh my god, my heart was pumping, man. I can't imagine what that game would be like if it was on PS5. Like, I'm getting old now. I probably would have had a heart attack at that point.
Yeah, I want you alive for the rest of the podcast. As much as we could just get another co-host like that, you know, we could just call up Lewis. We could just call up anyone, really. Maybe Jason. Just say, do you mind just subbing into the show? Phil's dead. I'm sure we could get someone really quick, actually. But I don't want you to die. It's for ease of use for us and for the audience to carry on with the show. It's better to keep you around. So as much as I want to see this come back, maybe make sure when you play that, maybe give it to a younger member of the audience. Maybe Spencer can come over and do that bit for you, because I don't really want to see you die.
I would massively appreciate that, Spence. So please come round when that part. I'll go and hide behind the couch, and then you can do the bosses for me.
I got you, bro. I'll beat them all first try. Easy.
So after that fight, Rick thankfully lets us through the fucking door, and we go down to the lift. We go into the deeper section of the labs, and at that point, then, if memory serves, we've got a really great puzzle then when it comes to moving the boxes around and creating a waypoint through while you got 2 new form raptors which are pursuing you around this area. I love that puzzle. I know we spoke about the puzzles so far and we said about how good they are, but moving those boxes around and creating that kind of walkthrough for you to get through, I thought it was just great. I thought it just made perfect sense. As soon as you see it, you're like, right, I know what I need to do. But it doesn't take away from any of the kind of intricacies that are built into that puzzle. It was the most effective type of puzzle design that this game has, which is you know what the solution is immediately upon looking at it, but you don't quite have it right because it puts limitations in your way. You can't move 2 boxes to the left. You can only move 3 up and 2 right and then 1 left. It puts these little limitations in that makes you like think outside the box. And I adored this puzzle, guys. I fucking loved it so much.
They're the best type, aren't they? When you look at it and go, this will be easy. I'll have this done in seconds. And then you start moving boxes around and you're still there maybe 5-10 minutes later. And Twitch chat is screaming at you saying, down, 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 no, up, left. Yes. A frustrating but ultimately rewarding puzzle once you achieve it.
I love that puzzle, but it was a case of, with that puzzle specifically, it was kind of a case of I thought it'd be easy. I thought it'd be a piece of piss, and then it wasn't until I realized that I didn't have to release stuff. I could just keep it on the hook, and as soon as I realized that, piece of piss, fucking flew through it. Then it was just until I had that realization, maybe like 4 or 5 minutes into the puzzle, and I was like, oh, I could actually just do what I want. Although it's giving me these limitations, it's not really. Which I loved. A fantastic puzzle. Actually awesome.
So, Phil, what kind of choice do we move on to then? Because my memory is failing me now in my old age at 33. So I remember doing that puzzle, and then from there, it just became into a case of going through the facility, as far as I remember, finding fingerprints and kind of opening doors up. But is there another major point that we get to in this plot?
Yeah, so we got 2 more choices to go. One at 3.5 sort of hours into the game, one around 4 hours. So we'll tackle the 3.5 hour choice first. I haven't got much detail on this one because it is a bit blasé. You've got Gale's strategy, which is you head to B3, level A area, or you follow Rick's strategy and you head for the part storage in B2.
Oh, I remember this. So this is the point in the game whereby you've gone through and you're looking to activate the device to basically, if I remember rightly on this, you've got like a vortex which is blocking your path that you can't go through, and the reason for that, you found Dr. Kirk at this point. You kind of got him under watch, and you have to activate the device again to be able to create this space-time distortion to be able to release these things from blocking you. And those paths are all about, do you follow Gale and just kind of go for it and put yourself at risk? Or do you follow Rick's, which is to find the machine parts to build the machine back up for the device that you actually need? I think I'm right on that. Spence, you played the game like yesterday. Am I wrong on this?
I could probably explain it a little bit better. Basically, Gale's strategy, his method, is to go to level B3 to grab the initializer and the stabilizer, which are already constructed. And those are to overload the 3rd energy generator to destroy the time-space continuum portals that are in the game. Whereas Rick's method is to go get the parts separately in B2, the safer route, but you have to then construct the devices yourself, and Gale makes a comment of, Regina doesn't have the technical know-how to do that, and that's basically it. So you either get the pieces already constructed, making it probably faster but more dangerous, or you take Rick's method, which is constructing them yourselves, but it is safer.
So what did you do, Spence?
Oh, I mean, this was quite late in the game at this point, at least for me anyway. So I kind of knew how to get around dinosaurs and stuff, so I didn't have any fear. This was the first time in the game I chose Gale's method, and I went and got the initializer and stabilizer straight up, and it took me all of like 10, 20 minutes. It was a piece of piss, really. Just grab them, you go up, you chuck them in the generator, that's it.
What about yourself, Phil?
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Someone's diverged a little bit. Well, I'm a Rick man, and I chose Rick's strategy. I headed for the part storage on B2. I thought it was the simpler route. Generally, I don't have much ammo, so I thought always stick with Rick, and I followed that up until this point in the game.
Spencer, I did exactly what you did. I looked at my inventory. I realized I had more ammo than I could ever possibly shoot at a dinosaur ever. And I thought, do you know what? Maybe Gale's on something. Maybe Rick's holding me back. Gale wasn't the one keeping the door closed for me to open it. Gale's been the guy that's been all about getting business done. And if there's one thing that Regina to me is all about, she's all about taking care of business. So I was like, Gale, do you know what? Let's just fucking do this. So I strapped on my big boy pants. I pulled my levers up a little bit tighter than they were normally, pulled out the shotgun, and just went for it. And I slayed every single dinosaur that was in my remote vicinity. And those that weren't even close to me, I made sure to give them a little, hey, I'm over here. Oh, laser. Oh, I'm going, baby. And I just got every single part I needed straight up in there, no problem, chucked them into the machine, ready to start the countdown off. That puzzle that you need to complete to be able to get the generator back online is phenomenal. That to me is the high point of the entire game. It felt like classic RE in terms of you know what the goal is, you need the parts to be able to get it online, and you need to do it in a specific way. I loved it. I adored that part of the game. And seeing from rereading these files about 10 times, seeing it come to fruition and getting it done right first time was amazing. I adored it. What do you guys feel about getting the machine back online and seeing Kirk with his little smug face, you can never do this, I'm the smartest scientist in the world, seeing his little shit-eating grin disappear when you get this machine online? Priceless for me.
Yeah, Davey, you've summed it up really, really well. It's an incredible part to the game and definitely a high point. As you said, it arcs back to loads of aspects of why we love survival horror and why we love Resident Evil. For me, definitely when that music is pumping, your heart's racing, you're under pressure, you've got to do things in a specific way. That's what I love about these types of games. And yes, that was an incredible moment.
I mean, yeah, same for me. Kirk was a dickhead. I did not like Kirk at all. He's so smarmy and so up his own arse. He's just like, I'm the smartest man in the world. You could never achieve what I've achieved. Bruv, it took me 5 minutes. Sit down. I also like how much, I'm just going to say this, I like how much of a pussy he is. Throughout the entire game, Kirk's like, I'm not going to give you this. And Gale just goes, give it to me. And that's it. He's like, oh, okay. Every single time he's like, I'm not going to give you anything. Gale just aims at him and he's like, oh, okay, sorry. And then 2 minutes later, he does it again. Give me the key card. Gives it to him. He's such a little bitch.
I gotta say, it's at this point in the game that from activating the generator that we learn that the dinosaurs were brought there from this third energy technology. So third energy is something that right now with the cost of living crisis we could really use. So I'm hoping that that Kirk just appears out of nowhere and solves the issue that we're currently having, because having unlimited energy would just be great. You know, I think that the world's economy and the fact that I don't have to pay £1.80 for a litre of petrol would just be great. So please, Kirk, just for God's sake, I don't care how many dinosaurs you bring back, give me this third energy. Because the way it works, and this is obviously from my uncultured brain, and it's been 2 weeks since I played the game at least, is that third energy is all about creating like a pocket in time that you can, that when he activates the machine to create this unlimited energy, it creates this pocket in time from this same spot that they're in from thousands and thousands of years ago or millions of years ago. And that's why these dinosaurs have warped into our reality, because we're bringing all the dinosaurs that are in that vicinity back to where they are now. But like any good organization, they decide this would be a great time to be able to weaponize it. And so they go on about how you can weaponize this to be able to bring back dinosaurs to savage enemies. And to be fair, the amount of ammo it takes to take one down, they probably do quite well.
It'd be a tough choice, wouldn't it, to bring that back right now, because you've got to weigh up unlimited energy with dinosaurs. Lots of raptors just running around Cambran. Is that going to be safe for your son, Davey? While you cruise around in your Tesla?
We spoke about on the last episode, really, about how big of an animal I can take down with my bare fists, right? And I think raptor, fortunately, falls into the same category as, say, lion or anything else, in that I can still chuck the arm in, thumb in the eye. I think I'd still be okay. But the problem is that, unlike the strategy I brought up last time, I'd still need to live my life. I can't sacrifice a body part every time I encounter a raptor. And if we're using third energy all the time to get unlimited energy, there's just a flaw there, you know? If anything, actually, this might be a way to create more jobs, because you need people to go on dinosaur hunting patrol. So actually, this might be really good for the economy. So Dr. Cook, he might have solved multiple things here. We can solve the unemployment crisis and the energy crisis in one fell swoop. But to be fair, I've already said I want some of those little tiny dinosaurs that you stumble over on your way to the bathroom at 3 a.m. I want a couple of those knocking about as pets. In fact, actually, Dr. Cook, you've created loads of different ways for us to be able to do something out of this. We got theme parks with Jurassic Park. We got that. That's a reality now, by the way. Thank you very much for the energy. We've got people going around on dinosaur patrol to stop raptors eating babies, when they're on their way to nursery. We got that. And we've got pets. in these little shitty dinosaurs that nobody likes, that don't do any damage, that just kind of hang around. Great. Maybe the house cats have been around for too long. Maybe it's time to swap them out, get some reptiles in the place. Why not? I don't know how well they do under our current climate. Probably not too well. We don't get sunlight very often. But that's something we'll solve down the line. Maybe that creates a new environment. We can have heat lamps in. Oh my God. Dr. Kirk, you'll blow my mind here, mate. You'll blow my mind. This is endless right here. Why do we ever stop his work?
Hashtag Dr. Kirk was right.
Jesus Christ, don't give me anything to go off on, guys. I've had a few beers. It just doesn't end, does it? So moving on. We then at this point now, we've unlocked the facility. We've totally eradicated these time force barriers that are stopping us from getting to the watercraft. We then move on to that watercraft, but we're giving another choice right about here, aren't we, Phil?
Yeah, and this is your last choice. This is game defining, so this will result in different endings. So this, for me, was around 4 or 5 hours in. So you've got Gale's idea, and that's to put priority to the mission and go after Dr. Kirk. If you choose to help Gale in pursuing Dr. Kirk, you head right to the special weapons storage room. Gale will die, but he'll give Regina the secret disc. At the port, the 3 escapees will fight the T-Rex again, although he keeps pursuing. Regina finally throws a high explosive into his mouth, detonating it and escaping on the hovercraft. Okay, and then you've got Rick's idea, so you ignore the duty and go after the comrade. If you choose to help Rick in escaping, Regina will sucker punch Gale and get him to come with. Proceeding to the port, and after Rick requests some fuel, collect it in the Nucleum port on the south side. Following Regina, you'll need to man up and fight the T-Rex in the same location. You'll need the grenade rounds. You basically run round, the T-Rex will come to you, and then you fire it into his mouth. Relatively easy fight, probably alluding to the one I picked. And then after a while, Rick will arrive with the cutscene and then blow up the island in perfect Resident Evil fashion.
Wowee. Well, I definitely didn't see that ending, because for me, I went for Gale's method. So I did double Rick's, double Gale's, and that's how I did it. I went after the scientist, went over, karate kicked him, took him by the hand, said, "Oh, you little bastard, you've been naughty," and then took him back to the hovercraft. And I saw Gale there die and admit basically everything that's been happening, that's a weapons program, that they were sent on this secret mission, and that Gale, he was a good guy, but he was just following orders. He was seeing it through, and the special disc is what the government needs, so make sure it gets him back. Gale, he died for all of us. He was like Jesus Christ in this analogy. He died for all of the sins of the government. Gale, I didn't know how right you were. I didn't know how many resources I could save, Gale. Gale's the boy. That was my ending I took. I rode the hovercraft, took on the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and realized how much I still had left in my inventory. But we'll cover that off in a little bit. Spencer, what choice did you make?
Davey, mate, I actually made the same decision you did. I went double Rick, double Gale. And yeah, you find out that it was all a lie. The mission wasn't to bring Dr. Kirk back. It was actually just to get his research and take the disc. And Gale sacrifices himself for the greater good, for the government. He tells you ask him, as Regina, you ask Gale, you're like, well, why didn't you just tell us? And he's like, what you didn't know couldn't hurt you. I was doing it to protect you. And then he's dead. And he goes out like a champion. He goes out like Jesus Christ, like you said, yeah. And you obtain a secret disc, you take it back, and you manage to get Dr. Kirk back. And a relatively happy ending, but Gale's dead. But I did not like him for the first half of the game. So as much as he's the boy, I wasn't that beaten up about his death. I do wish I trusted him more from the beginning, because he was a good guy. But he can't blame me for not trusting him, because he's a bit of a spooky fella. He didn't come across very well, but he meant well, and I will miss him.
Now, Phil, is there a way to actually make Gale survive this? Because in our endings, all 3 of us, right? Gale dies.
No, so mine, I chose Rick's idea. And basically, Regina sucker punches Gale, partly in the story, and then carries him out on the hovercraft. So Gale is alive in mine. Kirk dies. and I escape on the hovercraft after the T-Rex fight. So I did quadruple Rick. So I went 4 Ricks, 4 choices, and I stuck with my boy.
So you just didn't get the disc. So basically, your entire thing, your summary is that it was all pointless. Whereas at least for ours, we got the good ending in a way, in that, you know, we got Kirk there and we got the research. So we're doubling down. So our reality is third NG's a thing. We got dinosaurs back, baby. We're in now. This is the new reality. We got jobs booming. The economy's booming. We got oil that we're gonna lay down now. So in like a million years from now, we can get new dinosaur oil, which we know is the best oil. That's what we're using right now. Great times ahead. Whereas your one, it was all kind of a bit pointless. The world's going to go to shit, and we just got to hope that Elon Musk comes through for us.
Yeah, I chose to save my friends. I brought them all back with me. You know, if we were in this story, and Davey, I'd probably liken you to Gale the most. Headstrong, charging in. You'd be the one with the big sniper rifle. I'm sure Spence, as normally you have the woman character, so you're the Regina, and then I'm the computer guy sat in the computer room opening the doors for you. We would work as a trio. So I saved us, guys. I saved us all.
And much like Gil, I'll take the Jesus Christ moniker for this, right? But I'll do it way more elaborate than he did. I'd make sure to do like a big speech, you know. In fact, what I might do as well is I might give you guys a head start and be like, I'll keep the dinosaurs back and sacrifice myself when there's really no need. Like, I could probably just walk through the door, but I'd be like, no, I'm going to lock the door behind me. They're like, no, Davey, don't. I lock the door. I'm just there with my rifle. Shooting off my rounds. I've only got 5 left because I've been pumping them all into everyone else. Shoot all my rounds off. And then, like, he died doing what he loved. Making boots. And I'm there just fully drenched in dinosaur stuff, like all wrapped together like I'm out of Monster Hunter. And it's but my wife and kids are happy, and ultimately that's what it all is. And then 1,000 years from now, someone writes a book about me, and the rest is history. But not to get too religious on this podcast. And so sees the end of Dino Crisis. So we all sail off into the sunset, different scenarios, but the end comes.
Just likening yourself to Jesus Christ on the podcast there, mate.
I know, it's cracking me up. And so, with our different endings, we end Dino Crisis. The game wraps. We've learned the full scenario. We know the full story. Guys, I want to get your thoughts on the overall game. How you think the plot panned out across the entire adventure. And any kind of closing remarks before we bring this podcast to a close. Phil, let's start with you.
Well, Davey, I came into this game with super high expectations because I love survival horror. I love dinosaurs. I've played the game probably not to completion before, and I knew I liked the game. So playing through it again was a pleasure. But looking at it through now a 37-year-old's eyes, I can definitely see its faults, but I forgive its faults. I'm still smiling. We're at the end of the podcast. We've talked about this game now for over 2 hours. I loved it, guys. And I'm not apologizing to you because I genuinely love this game. And I would play it again. I would happily play this game. And possibly, I wouldn't go with Rick this time. I would go with Gale all the way through and see what happens. Because I think there's 3/4 endings to this game, or 3 official endings. I think there's 4 paths to those 3 endings. So I'm really interested to see how that all pans out towards the end of the game. I remember with Metal Gear Solid, I'm pretty sure we rated that game a perfect 10. So for this game, it doesn't reach those high heights. There's definitely faults with the game. But as I said, I do forgive those faults. I'm going for an 8 out of 10 for this game. I think it's an important game to play if you're going back through the PlayStation catalog. And I think it's an important game if you love survival horror, if you love Resident Evil. There's definitely a lot for you there. But let me warn you, take yourself a pad and paper and note down every single thing, because otherwise you won't enjoy the game. And I think you would rate it a lot lower if you don't have those assets to hand and you're trying to remember them off the top of your head. Because at 37, I couldn't do it. And when I played it, probably when I was like in my teens, I didn't do it either. So there's my advice. There's my closing thoughts on this game. I reckon it's a solid 8. Definitely go back and play it if you're a survival horror fan, but definitely take yourself a pad and paper.
What about yourself, Spencer? Where are you coming down on this one?
Me with Dino Crisis, I was kind of indifferent with the game, literally through and through. It wasn't a case of I did hate it at the start, actually. I really didn't like it at the start. But I just kind of got used to the game, and the more I learned about how the game plays and functions as a video game, the more I liked it. But it wasn't a case of it ended up with me enjoying the game. I was just kind of indifferent with it. I'm glad I experienced it. I was going to say I enjoyed my time with it, but I spent time with it, is what I'll say. I spent time with the game. The puzzles were fun. It's got a lot of cons, but a good few pros. The item box, some of the encounters, the laser grid. It does have its good aspects and bad aspects. I think the good aspects ultimately do outweigh the bad, in my opinion. So although I'm indifferent on the game, which would make it a 5, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Because I enjoyed it enough. I will say honestly, when I beat the game and it came up saying you've unlocked new outfits for the next time you play, I was offended. I was like, you seriously think I'm going to play this again? Shut the fuck up, get off my screen. I turned off the PlayStation so fast, you do not believe. It was insane. I couldn't believe it had the audacity to tell me I'd unlock costumes. It was unfathomable. I will probably never play this game again. If I do, it's going to be a lot of years down the line or in a remake. But I am glad that I spent the time I did with it. So for me, it's a 6 out of 10.
For me, guys, I'm going to sit in the middle of both of you. For me, it's a 7 out of 10. And the reason for that is that I think that as much it does this great about this game, like with the item box, the puzzles are phenomenal. The plot's actually amazing. The plot's actually my favorite part of this entire game. I thought it was great. I thought the way it was told across its files and across the cutscenes that were in there was sensational. Actually, way better than any Resident Evil's kind of ever really done it. Some high sci-fi kind of concepts, but it did that in a way that kind of makes sense in that world, and it didn't seem too far flung. And I really enjoyed the characters. I really enjoyed, Gale, Rick, and Dr. Kirk. I really enjoyed their kind of chemistry and what they brought to the table. But for me, it was very much a game of two parts. The first half of the game, I hated it. I actually hated it every single minute I was in it. I hated the item box. I hated the map. I hated how kind of everything works in that game. It just, all of it felt like a downgrade from Resident Evil. But when I got to the halfway mark and I beat that T-Rex on the heliport, my opinion changed. Like, very drastically. I went from it being maybe a 3 out of 10 to being a 7. Because everything just started clicking. I'd kind of learned everything the game wanted to teach me. And I accepted it for what it is. And I think that for somebody who's big into survival horror, it's not the best in the genre. It's not anywhere close to it. But it's good. And I think it's well worth a playthrough to be able to see what could be brought into reality when you consider a potential remake or what Capcom are sitting on here. I don't think this game lives up to the legacy that it has. And that people say that it's one of, the best games and it's phenomenal and it's a standout in the genre. It's nowhere near any of the original trilogy for Resident Evil. It's nowhere near Silent Hill 1 and 2 or Silent Hill 3. It ain't even remotely in that same discussion. But it's good, and it's well worth a playthrough, especially if you're a survival horror fan. And that's kind of where I fall along with this. But guys, I do want to know, and this is always important, whenever I finish a game like this, a survival horror, I always get to the point where I get this realization that I've got far more than I can ever use. And it's something that in my YouTube reviews, I always talk about this. The fact that I get to the end game, making it way harder for me than I ever needed. Did you guys go into that last boss fight with far more than you could possibly need? What about yourself, Phil?
No, I pretty much went into the end boss fight with 0, and Rick thankfully hands you some grenade bullets, enough to defeat the boss. So I couldn't miss pretty much throughout that fight. And I don't think you get much option to miss because it heavily prompts you when to shoot the T-Rex in that final fight. So yeah, I just scraped through by the skin of my teeth.
What about yourself, Spence?
Bro, I went into that fight. I had 6 Medpack L++s. I had 2 resuscitations. I had 9 grenade rounds. I had 6 heat rounds for the grenade gun. I had like 15 shotgun shells, the slag bullets. I was ready to kick that T-Rex's arse, and it only took me like 4 grenade rounds, so I was a bit upset. I wanted a bit of a better fight. I also want to mention, by the way, about that fight, sorry to derail it a little bit, why can that T-Rex just fucking surf on the water? He was flying down it as fast as a hoverboat. There's no fucking way. T-Rex legs, they're not that in water. He was on a surfboard or on a different boat or something. He was flying down it.
My theory is that he's got those kind of legs that he underneath him, right? He somehow find a key. He's been exploring this facility, same as you, right? He's trying to figure out the modern world. He's like, oh, I've been walked out 1 minute. I'm chasing down raptors for dinner. Next thing you know, I'm like a couple of million years later, right? There's no one around. I got no family. I got nothing else. I might as well learn how to just swim really fast. And so the time when he's not chasing you, he's just in the water. He's just practicing. He's like, well, I'm ready. If anyone tries to get off this island, I'm just chowing down. And that's my head canon for this.
He's a bit like a duck, where you see at the top of the duck, really still, really serene, not even giving a fuck. But down below, that's what was happening.
Exactly. We've seen all these things about Loch Ness, right? And people saying it's like, it's a long neck or it's some kind of other dinosaur. It's not. It's just a T-Rex. He's just practicing in Loch Ness these days. That's what he's done. After Dino Crisis finished back in 1998, he just went over there. He's just still getting his legs in. He's hoping that one day they'll allow reptiles to be in the Olympics, because the moment he gets in, we're winning, boys. And he's British at this point if he's in Loch Ness. So we're winning every single swimming trophy we got. Now, my inventory, guys, was madness. It was absolute madness. I took a picture of it. So this is actually my inventory when I went into that final boss fight, when you get access to your last your last boxes that are on the wall. So I had 3 heat bullets, 4 SG bullets, 3 grenade bullets. I had 3 med pack L++s. I had 2 resurrections, 12 grenade bullets, another med pack plus L++ times 2, and 6 slag bullets. And like Spencer said, it took me 3 bullets to end it. So pissed off. So pissed off. I'd gone through my entire run poisoning the odd dinosaur every now and again, but nothing else. And I ended up with so much ammunition and so many heals, I could not believe what I'd done to myself. And I suppose that's always the sign of a good survival horror, is that you never want to use what you have. You want to put yourself in the worst position possible by running through and not just firing off a single bullet and getting to this point where you've got everything at your disposal. And I had loads more in the stashes that I just didn't use, that I couldn't fit into my inventory. But I thought, well, I might as well see what these heat blasts do, because I haven't fired one off before, and it was just over. And that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. So how about your clearance time, guys? If somebody was to go and play this game, how are we set when it comes to our clearance and our saves? Because as you know, we got shots on this. Phil, let's start with yourself. The guy who's played it before, the guy who's firing shots off left, right, and center into every single dinosaur known to man. What was your clear time?
Okay, you ready for this? So I played on the game mode normal. I think you get easy and normal to start with. My clear time was 5 hours, 30 minutes and 59 seconds. And I saved 26 times.
Wow, fucking hell. Don't want to give anything away from me, but fuck. Okay, what about yourself, Spence?
Bruv, my guy was playing on roller skates. Holy shit. He was swimming as fast as a T-Rex. That's crazy. 5 hours. Oh my god. Me? The later half of the game, I beat really fast. I flew through the end. But the start, I spent so much time getting to grips with the game. I played the game on normal, same as you. No way was I going to play it on easy. 0 continues. My clear time was 7 hours, 19 minutes and 38 seconds. And I used 28 saves.
Jesus. So, mine, I played on normal, of course. 0 continues. Clear time, 6 hours, 59 minutes, 32 seconds with 26 saves. So we all seem to save around the same, for me and Phil anyway. But Phil, I tell you what, experience coming in gold there, coming in shaving off like a good hour odd apart from us. Well done.
Champion! Get in!
So that means, based on that, Phil, you have one shot to give away on the next episode, on episode 44, for having the quickest clearance time. And Spencer, unfortunately, you owe a shot for having the most saves with 28 saves. Oh, and I've managed to skate away with nothing. Just sit in the middle of the pack.
It was that double save, Spence. You shouldn't have done a double save.
I was just mashing X, man. Is what it is.
Listeners, you can mash onto our email. So please, write into the show. Let us know what you think about Dino Crisis. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Did you feel kind of indifferent about it? Because for all our playthroughs so far, we got a podcast average of a 7 out of 10. Desperate to know what you feel about the game. Write into the email pswetrust@gmail.com.
We have the vote up for our next Spoilercast from the past. And guys, you can definitely mash on to the straw poll. The URL will be in the description, and it'll also be across our Twitter presence. The games in choice are Half-Life from me.
I'm bringing Legacy of Kain from the PlayStation 1, an absolute classic, to the mix.
And I'm bringing Syphon Filter from the PS1, but hopefully we'll get it on PS5 by the time we record and we can platinum it.
So guys, please make sure to head over and cast your votes on the straw poll. As I said, URL will be in the description, and it's all over our Twitter, and it will be on Reddit as well.
But guys, Spoilercast aside, if you want to reach out to us about our opinions on Dino Crisis or your opinions on Dino Crisis, let us know if you had any differences in your playthrough or you've picked the same as us. You can let us know on Reddit, which will be in the description below, or any of our Twitter accounts at @spenpie_, at @SSJDavey, at PhilHoy, or our joint Twitter account at InPSWeTrust. All will be linked in the description below.
And that has been it for episode 2 of Spoilercast from the past. I'm so sorry to have kept you waiting as long as you have. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. And remember, if you want to support the show, the best way of doing so is by leaving a rating on Spotify, or if you're listening on YouTube, thank you very much. Then make sure to go on, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It all helps us to grow and find a larger audience. Now, I've been Davey.
I've been Phil.
And I've been Spencer.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, @SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See ya.